Hi everybody, it's Rebecca Virginia DIY, and today I'm going to be bringing you 5 brand new Valentine's Day DIYs. The first Valentine's Day DIY is this adorable Hello Valentine tag sign that will look great in your home or displayed on your front door. Here are all of the supplies that you'll need to make this. So this DIY actually doesn't need that many supplies, but 2 of our main ones are going to be these tag signs from the Dollar Tree. One is a Christmas tag and one is from all the way back in the summer. So what I did is I just flipped them. We're not going to be using the front of them, so I just flipped them over and we're going to be painting the back. So for the first one, we're going to be creating a Valentine's Day buffalo check pattern. So to do this, I first painted the entire sign white. Then once it was dry, I went in with some painter's tape and I am creating some vertical stripes going down the tag sign. And I'm using another piece of the painter's tape as a spacer in between. Then I went in with the color Ballet Slipper. It's this really pretty pale muted pink color from Waverly Chalk Paint. And I am filling in, of course, in between the painter's tape. And I didn't wait for this to dry before I peeled it. I'm just going to immediately, once I'm done, peel off the painter's tape. Then I let that dry for a bit and we're going to be going in repeating the same process, but this time going horizontally. So again, I am placing down the painter's tape using a second piece of painter's tape as a spacer and then laying down another piece. I actually have a very in-depth tutorial on how to do this buffalo check using paint and painter's tape. I will link that above in case you guys wanted to check that out. I went into a bit more detail on how exactly to do this, but if you're able to follow this quick version, then even better. After using that same pale pink color to paint over the horizontal stripes, I waited again until it was dry. And it's a little difficult to see on video, but there is a section that is not covered by tape, and we are going to be covering that section by tape. It's going to be protecting a lot of the white squares that are going to end up showing up in our buffalo check. So I am once again going vertically down, and this time I am taking a darker red color. This is called Berry Red by Folk Art. So I actually ended up doing 2 coats of this, and once that was dry, it was time to reveal our buffalo check design. I always love this part. It's so much fun seeing the buffalo check really come to life once you peel off all that tape and you can see all your hard work really come to fruition. This is an easy technique, but it just takes a lot of time because you have to wait in between each layer of paint to dry. So it's really fun to see the end result. Now I am taking the second tag sign, and originally I was going to use one of the new 2022 calendars from the Dollar Tree, and I still think that you could do that. I really loved this truck. I thought it was so cute, and it didn't quite fit horizontally, but I was thinking maybe vertically you could have done it. So I think this is a really great option, but I decided to end up just using some vinyl scraps that I had. So I found a cute truck pattern of my own on my Cricut design space, and I ended up just using some vinyl. But if you don't use that, you can have some stickers, you can use a window cling, or you can use one of the calendars from the Dollar Tree. So after painting the tag white, I distressed it a bit using some darker brown paint. Then while that was drying, I moved on to my bow. And this bow is a little bit complicated to make, so I'm actually going to link a tutorial where I went very in-depth, step by step. I'm sure a lot of you know how to create bows like this, but actually this Christmas was the first time I made a bow like this. I have a very simple way of making my bows, so I kind of stepped outside of my comfort zone and figured out how to make some new ones. So again, that will be linked above my Christmas DIY video where I show you super in-depth how to create this bow. But here I am just adding the tail onto it and tying that on with some jute in the back. So now we're going to set that bow to the side and go back to the sign. I'm laying down some hot glue and then placing the front tag on top of the buffalo check tag. And I know what you're thinking. You worked so hard just to hide up that buffalo check. I kind of felt the same way, but I really liked the effect that it gave having these 2 layered tags. Then I went ahead and the vinyl that I had cut out earlier, I placed down onto the front of the sign before hot gluing down the bow. Then I cut the tails of my bow into a dovetail and just kind of scrunched up the ribbon. And the camera actually didn't catch this last step, but I did take some nautical rope that I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and that is what I used to make the door hanger for this sign. The next DIY is my first attempt at ever making something that I think would be considered shabby chic. I figured if there's ever a time to do it, then it's going to be Valentine's Day. Here are all of the supplies that you'll need if you want to create this shabby chic DIY on your own. So to start this DIY, you are going to need a heart sign. I picked up these Follow Your Heart signs when they were 2 for $1 after the Valentine's Day season was over. And if your Dollar Tree has these, you could just flip them over and use the blank back. But Dollar Tree, or at least mine, came out with these blank wood signs for Valentine's Day. So to make it a little bit easier on myself, I'm just going to be using this. And first off, the slats that are holding the heart pieces together, I took some dark brown paint and I am just painting all in those sections. Like I mentioned earlier, I wanted to try my hand at creating some shabby chic DIYs. And when I researched kind of what exactly is shabby chic, the 2 colors that kept coming up over and over again were this pale pink color and this almost pastel like celery green color. So I decided to incorporate both of those colors into this DIY. I am taking that celery green color on one of the slats and then the rest I am painting that pale pink. And then I'm going into decoupaging. So I picked up some of this gorgeous tissue paper at the Dollar Tree. And for this middle section, I am just going to be putting down the entire row. So I'm not fussy cutting out any of the flowers. I am just simply adhering down the tissue paper. And you might be wondering, why didn't I just cut out a strip and put the whole strip down? Well, I tried that. I knew against my better decoupaging judgment that that was probably not going to work out, and it didn't. There were lots of bumps and lumps and air bubbles. So you really have to work in small sections when you're decoupaging, taking your Mod Podge, putting a little bit of the tissue paper down, and then covering that in some more Mod Podge. And that's why I'm using a paintbrush when I do this, because I don't want to end up using too much of the Mod Podge. I want it to be nicely spaced out. And I did fussy cut smaller sections of the florals for these pieces that I am now decoupaging down onto our wood heart. Then I moved on to the third slat in the heart DIY, and since it was blank, I looked around my craft room for a stencil of a heart or something that would fit with Valentine's Day, and I didn't really have one, so instead I took this paper doily and a sponge brush and some white paint, and I just dabbed this onto the slat, and I think it came out really good. It was kind of a makeshift stencil. Then I moved on to the bow. And in this case, I took some of this smaller lace ribbon and I hot glued it on top of some burlap ribbon to kind of create my own custom Valentine's Day ribbon. And for this one, I'm just creating a super simple loop bow. So I'm just looping the ribbon together and pinching it in the center. And usually I would take a piece of jute and tie this in the center. But for this one, I'm doing it a little bit differently. So instead, I just used a bit of hot glue to hold that pinch together. As the centerpiece of my bow, I picked up these really cute heart pins from the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to be using that, as well as one of these love galvanized signs, which of course I also got from the Dollar Tree. And the center heart and the love sign, I am taking a color called Celery by Waverly, and I am painting both the sign and the heart. And then once that was dried, it was really easy to peel the wood heart off of the clothespin that it was attached to and just hot glue that onto the center of our bow. And then I also took the love sign, and that is going to be on the third slat too. But I wanted it to be a little bit more shabby chic, bring in some rustic elements. So I wanted it to look like the bow was holding up the love sign. So I kind of faked it by just using some hot glue and jute and hot gluing the jute to the back of the love sign, and then hot gluing our bow onto the center of the wood heart and having some of that jute behind it. So again, it kind of looked like the bow was holding up the love sign. This wood sign already came with a jute hanger, so I just threaded that back through the holes and our shabby chic sign was completed. My next Valentine's Day DIY might just be my favorite, and I think because I kind of created it as an homage to vintage love letters. Here's everything that you are going to need if you want to recreate this shabby chic DIY. I really love this DIY because I created everything with supplies that I already had. So I took this galvanized heart sign that I picked up over the summer when the Dollar Tree came out with a lot of their galvanized signs, but I saw that they do have the hearts back out again. And I took some paint to just distress this. Again, I'm kind of going with the vintage love letters inspiration for this DIY. Then I took some scrapbooking paper and a doily to just create that delicate vintage touch. And for the edges of the scrapbooking paper, I am just slowly and gently ripping it again so it has that worn love letter kind of vibe. Then I hot glued down the side of the paper doily into place and then added a bit of glue stick glue to adhere the scrapbooking paper down on top. I added a little bit of brown paint just to give it that weathered look, and then I moved on to some more embellishments. I picked up these little wood hearts from the Dollar Tree, so I will be hot gluing that down soon. And then I wanted to make a little banner that said love, so I got some more scrapbooking paper that I had and cut out 4 little triangles, and then just took a black marker to write out love. Then I grabbed a small piece of jute to just hang across the galvanized heart, and I hot glued the love banner into place. Then I went deep into my craft supplies and I found this small Sola wood flower, as well as these 2 really adorable white heart buttons. So I knew that I wanted to use those, and I also had a long piece of this lacy heart-shaped ribbon. So I cut out a little bit of that, and I was trying to figure out where exactly I wanted to place it, and I liked it down along the side, so I grabbed some hot glue and laid that in place, and then I hot glued down the Sola wood flower. I will have their link down below if you wanted to check out any of their items. Then I hot glued down those hard buttons before adding a bit of hot glue and a jute as a hanger. I actually really liked how this turned out just using it as a standing up sign, but you could always hang it too. Also, I wanted to let everyone know that today's video is a part of a collab with Maria over at Artsy Cupcake. She has created a video along with myself, and I will have that link below down in my description box, so please make sure to head on over to her channel and give it a watch. She does amazing DIY videos, a lot of the times using Dollar Tree supplies. I especially love when she does her Kirkland's dupes for less. So please go over, check out Maria, and tell her I sent you. Next up is a super easy DIY using supplies from the Dollar Tree that I think would make a great Valentine's Day gift for someone. Let's get right into this DIY. If you happen to see these pot holders from the Dollar Tree, you have got to pick a bunch up. I have actually only ever seen them in store twice. So if your store is one of the lucky ones that has this pot holder with the pocket, make sure to pick them up because they are such a good deal for only $1. They have a rubberized backing. And again, they're one of the only pot holders I've seen from the Dollar Tree with a pocket, which makes it so perfect for gifting because you can add in a little something special and extra in that pocket section. I am using my Cricut vinyl and my small heat press to put on this cute little saying, "Baked with Love." And if you aren't able to find these pot holders, you don't have a Cricut, or maybe you just don't want to DIY, I have opened an Etsy shop. That is a new thing that I have done in 2022. I'm very excited about that. And I am going to have these up for sale in my Etsy shop by the time this video is up. So I will have that link below if you wanted to check it out. I am currently offering free shipping on all of the items in my Etsy store. So if you wanted to check it out, I would really appreciate it. And for that little something special and extra, I found this adorable rubber spatula and heart cookie cutter from the Dollar Tree, which I tucked inside. The next DIY, if you can't tell, I was feeling the baking themed, so I made this adorable Made with Love sign, complete with its own decorative whisk. Here's everything that you'll need to complete this DIY on your own. The Dollar Tree has brought out these happily ever after and other saying signs season after season. So although I picked this one up in the fall, I have already seen them out again. So you could definitely still find these in your Dollar Tree. And what I really love about them and what makes them different are the wood bead holder. I think that's a really nice touch from the Dollar Tree. So like I do with a lot of my Dollar Tree signs, I just flipped it over and I am painting that bare side using a pale pink color similar to the one that I used in the first DIY. Then this tissue paper might look familiar because I also used this in the first DIY. It was so pretty, I just had to use it again. And I am decoupaging just a little bit around the sides and the top and bottom of my frame. Again, using the same technique, laying down a bit of Mod Podge, then placing the Mod Podge over top the tissue paper as well. And I did just fussy cut out some flowers, which basically just means that you're not being completely precise when you're cutting out and just kind of doing a rough outline or a silhouette of what you are trying to cut out, and then just continued laying down the Mod Podge and the tissue paper until everything was dry. I found this cute little mini whisk in the kitchen section at the Dollar Tree, and I liked the red color and was thinking of something like Made with Love or Baked with Love and how it would be cute and on theme for Valentine's Day, but I wanted it to have a bit more of that distressed, shabby chic look, so I went in with some white chalk paint and a little bit of brown paint to distress it, and then I popped back in the backing of our frame, and I couldn't really decide which pattern I liked best. I know the darker pink showed up better on camera, and even in pictures it kind of looked better, but this pale one looks really, really pretty and delicate in person, so you'll just have to trust me on why I went with the paler shade. And then I moved on to painting the beads at the top of our frame. This was a little bit difficult because I couldn't remove the beads, paint them, and put them back on, or I could have, but then I would have had to take it apart and hot glue back together, so I decided to not do that. It was a little bit tough, but it is possible if you're careful. Then I just dressed everything up to give it more of that shabby chic look. And of course, what is more shabby chic than some delicate lace? So I wrapped that around the top and around our whisk before hot gluing it into place. Thanks so much for watching. Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.